So what is the ultimate goal of this club moving forward?
We want to reach the playoffs. Yeah, we are, despite our crash, we are not even that far away from it.
Welcome back to the DOOP presented by Subaru. As always, I'm Sage Hurley, and today we have a very special edition of our podcast. We have a guest that fans don't usually get to hear from directly. Philadelphia Union Sporting Director Ernst Tanner, welcome.
Thank you. Hello.
So your job here at the Philadelphia Union encompasses a lot of different responsibilities. For people who might not know, can you walk me through what your role is here at the club?
Yeah, I'm overseeing the sporting department, and that starts with the first team, but goes over the second team and the academy as well. And yeah, that's what I'm doing every day.
This season hasn't unfolded how we hoped it would, but the fans, the players, staff, front office, ownership, all share the same sentiment. Everyone wants to win. Can you speak to the ambition that this club still has?
Yeah, everybody wants to win. Yeah, but before you win, you need to set up the possibilities for winning, and that means you need to develop. And we did a good job basically with that. And honestly, the season did start pretty okay. After 8 match days, we were still at top, had a game in hand, but the points per game were the best over the two conferences. And then we really suffered a crash, which was part of probably even self-inflicted, but we also were running through a lot of adversities in terms of injuries. I don't need to tell you that Blake is a big member or a big part of our losing streak, and then we had releases, so we needed to change the lineups. We were part of really thin on our bench as well, and that all plays a role. And if you don't win, you don't necessarily get more confidence, and that's what we have been seeing over the course of the season so far, and even gave games out of hand where you really were supposed to win.
Wednesday's game against New England Revolution was a step in the right direction, but the games before that, the problems kind of happened in that second half of the game. What do you think contributed to that?
Yeah, at some point of time, it can also be a destination in a way that you are determined to lose. Even if you are losing, if you are winning by 2 goals up, and it's almost impossible that you lose a game. But there are a lot of incidents coming together, and I think we need to learn out of that. Basically do better. Yeah, that's clear, and we all know that, and we can do better. That's what we know, and coming players back will help. Yeah, having a new addition will help, and getting players back to old strength will even help more.
So what is the ultimate goal of this club moving forward?
We want to reach the playoffs. Yeah, we are. Despite our crash, we are not even that far away from it. And if you win a couple of games, and the next one is Saturday, we are really contending, and we have the chance to be back in playoffs, and that's the goal. Yeah. And we have been in the playoffs since I'm here, and so we got to do that.
Mark Evans has been a big part of our podcast, usually as the mailman bringing questions from fans, but his more formal title is Vice President of Ticket Sales and Services, and this time he has some questions specifically from the Sons of Ben, and they submitted them ahead of their meeting with you and ownership this week.
Yeah, so obviously, Ernst, we met with the Sons of Ben and a handful of their members on Tuesday night, and a lot of the questions that they had, we went over with them, but we wanted to go kind of a little bit more public with them as well. So I know one question that they had was talking about how some of the smaller market teams are spending more and more money on star players. How do you think the Union's going to be able to keep up with that?
It is not the way the Union is designed to, let's say, overspend. What we want to do is we want to develop our players. And that does not only mean that we have a good academy, but we need to do a good job on the players we have in our squad. And that's the strongest tool a club has, and there is a lot of proof out that clubs who are doing this successfully are winning. And that's basically what is included in our concept as well.
So going off of that, fans often ask about off-season signings like Olwethum Makanya, Sanders Gabo, Marcus Anderson. Can you give an update on their progression so far?
I think that they're doing a very good job in the second team. And you can see that if you look at the standings in our second team, and that's exactly what they were designed for. And we want to develop them and bring them at some point of time in the first team if they do the right progress. But in off season we had a situation where by rule there was not much possible. We could only do these signings, and we had 3 DPs. Carranza was aging out of the young DP and was a full DP, so that means we had only the possibility to sign a young DP and nothing else. So we were basically forced to go ahead with what we have, and bringing back Wagner and bringing back Ale Bedoya also contributed to that situation.
So you mentioned Julian Carranza. Why was it important for both the club and for Julian as a player to complete that deal with Feyenoord?
We kept him at the longest point or at the longest time possible because the winter transfer window was really difficult for doing something, and we would have needed to sell him in winter in order to open up space to do new signings. That happened now, and it was the last point of time possible, like I said, to be sure. Or Julian, we asked Julian if even if we matched the offers he had from over Europe, if he would like to stay, and for his personal development, he said clearly no, and that's understandable. And if somebody is growing over the level of our league, then we gotta sell. We have no other choice, because it will not go better if you keep the players until the end of their contracts and they are not motivated.
There's a lot of different mechanisms in MLS than there are in some of the previous jobs you've had. Does that make it more difficult? It's not as easy as just like, hey, money came in and now we're going to send some money back out for another player. Obviously, as you just mentioned, we're limited on things that we could do. Can you talk to that a little bit as well?
I love that. Because that gave us the opportunity that we have been successful in the past. And I think we were doing a really good job in bringing in good signings for the money MLS and the system is providing for us. And we have been outstandingly successful with that. And that was one of the reasons why I came over, because what is going on over in Europe is hazardous for the clubs, and you see it if you look at the balance sheets of the clubs. So and that's not sustainable. And if you look at our league and the improvements we have been doing over the course of the last couple of years, we are not that far off anymore from good European leagues. We might not be as competitive as a top 5 league in Europe, that's clear. But there's a lot of second-tier leagues who are not better than us. Yeah. And if you look at the evaluations coming out of the data, I mean, we are ranked in this moment like the 10th best league in the world. That's not bad, for the sake of how young we are and how young the sports in this country is. And we just need to continue to progress in reasonable steps and be sustainable, and in a time span of maybe 5 to 10 years, we are probably there, because if you follow the discussions over in Europe with financial restrictions, some countries or some leagues are even discussing salary caps now, and that tells you the story.
Yep.
Have you seen the level of play in this league elevate since you came to the Philadelphia Union?
I'm following the level of this league since basically 2012, when I was over in Philadelphia for the first time. And honestly, to watch the league at that time was pretty cruel. But and I could follow it over my time in the other club, to say it like that. When I came in 2018, there was already a massive improvement. And if you look at the number of teams we are having now, if you look at the investments clubs are doing here. We are in this moment pretty decent, and the fact that we get players from Latin America right now and are in real competition with the Mexicans who have a decade-long history, that shows you that the players recognize it and they want to go and play in US, and that's a good thing.
For you personally, what drew you to the Philadelphia Union when you first started here?
Well, we needed to improve the roster. That was clear, because the first game I watched live here was a 1-4 loss against Montreal, and we, quite frankly said, had no chance. and we survived that period, and we even did some tweaks to reach the playoffs. But even in a playoff game against New York City, we were basically not capable to win against the top 4 teams at the time. And that's what we changed, and that's very, very satisfying to me as well.
So you talk about that change from your first game here to now. What changes were made to bring this team to the success that they've had over the last couple of years?
First and foremost, we needed to change the system, because we definitely had maybe 1.5 wingers, if at all. And wingers usually cost you a lot of money, and in addition, there is no proof for its efficiency. So we played with 2 strikers. We brought a left back in because we didn't have a left back, which was in my eyes almost impossible. And then we changed the philosophy and the style of play, and that has a big impact on the development as well. And I think we were overperforming in the first season, and from that point of time we were even outperforming for the consecutive seasons. And this season we have a small dip, but I also consider this to be pretty normal. It doesn't always go one way in football. That's not life, in real life, and that's what we need to acknowledge and get back to work and improve our situation.
And it all starts this week. You mentioned bringing in players. We're recording today as the secondary transfer window officially opens across Major League Soccer. It closes on Wednesday, August 14th. What are these periods typically like for you? What are your plans for this one?
The work is done before. The work is not done in this period in particular. The work is done before. It's always, once a transfer window closes, the work for the next transfer window starts. So it's constantly going on.
So what are your plans for this one then?
We will probably sign another player, and we need to see what we can fit in the CSB charge budget. That's always a critical phase because in MLS the main transfer window is the winter, and then you can only do something if you do releases and if you create some space, and that's what we have been doing. And that's the reason why we can bring in players now.
So we saw the first glimpse of your plans when the club announced the signing of forward Sam Adeniran. When did he start to pique the club's interest?
I suggested him already when he was playing over in Germany in the 4th league.
Really?
Yeah, sure.
How long ago was that?
It's 4 years ago or something like that. Wow. Because we are tracking all American players over the globe, more or less, and he was playing in a club which is by incident the club was very, very close to a scout of us where he's based, and he told me, hey, listen, there is somebody playing from US, I know him, and have a look at him. It looks interesting, but at the time, it was not necessarily that he would have been capable to play MLS at the time. But he got over to Seattle for the second team, made his way through an expansion club, and did really good strides. And I was closely following and asking for him basically since last summer already. Because as a potential replacement for Julian. But the time was not right at the time, and now we got lucky that we could bring him in. Also due to the frequent talks I had with their sporting director. And there was a lot of interest out of MLS, but luckily we got the deal done for Philadelphia.
What makes him special as a player?
He's a very powerful player. He's very quick, very agile, athletic, and also is a good header. So we can definitely use that.
With obviously now Ty has started to click a little bit and play a lot better. What do you see as Sam's role now for the club, now that we've got two healthy forwards finally for the first time in a while?
Yeah, we were very thin throughout the past couple of games, and we definitely needed to do something in attack in order to give our coaches more choices. And we need to integrate Sam, that's clear. But the good news is, in comparison to a foreigner you're bringing him, he can fly over from St. Louis. His car already came earlier than him himself. So these are all positive outcomes because otherwise you would need to bring somebody over, and we might not underestimate how difficult it is to adjust to the heat and the humidity here in summer, in particular for European players.
Yep.
They don't know that.
Adjusting to a new city can be really hard for a player, like you've mentioned. Ty Baribo was signed last August, and 1 month ago he was still searching for that first Major League Soccer goal. Now he has 6. What have you seen from him this summer?
Yeah, we brought him in because we were anticipating that there might be a transfer out, and it was going a little bit unlucky, to be honest, with him, because there was a lot of competition in attack. And when he came out of a preseason, which doesn't necessarily make it easy, and then you face these conditions I just was describing. So you can imagine, and then he didn't get too many chances to show what he can do. But I'm even more happy that he is so quick up to speed, because if you don't play for almost a whole season, it usually takes you quite a lot of time that you get back to fitness and shape. But Kai was seamlessly fitting in since he's playing, and that speaks for him, absolutely, and his quality.
So he's an international player, but on the other side of things, the Philadelphia Union Academy has been a pillar of this organization, and now more than ever, it's being recognized as one of the best in not only the United States, but the entire world. There's a new generation of players coming up through that pipeline. Can you describe what you're seeing from the younger class of kids that are starting to train with the first team, and how soon some of them could be seeing minutes?
They're all good players, but we also must acknowledge that some of them are still boys, and there is a really tough physical load in the meanwhile in MLS, and that's what requires some development, as well as physically, as well as technically and tactically. And there is a difference between MLS and MLS Next Pro for sure. But our concept with a pretty fluent transition between first, second team and training. We are talking almost every week. We need to talk, okay, what do we do with that player specifically? We do a lot of IDP with the young players, and that brings them closer to the first team. And once they are ready, then we gotta use them. And that's a good thing, because these players, they are here. They get consistent match practice, they get consistent development, and then we don't need to look out for transfers because it's getting more and more difficult to get good players in and to improve our squad, because we have a very good starting 11 already. If everybody is here, that's a good team and a lot of quality. And salary cap mechanisms also do not allow that you have a second team, like over the big clubs in Europe, a second team in your roster which can seamlessly fill in and and play when the first team is on national team duty. That's impossible with our mechanisms.
Now, do you see one of the things that came up the other night? Do you still anticipate that these academy players, the Union 2 players, these young guys that come through, will still be sold on to Europe? And I know that's discussed a lot of they only play a couple years here and then they go off elsewhere. Do you still see that as a big piece of our club moving forward?
No, what's the problem? I mean, they contribute. Mackenzie, Ernst, and Trusty, just to give you a couple of examples, they all contributed to our success.
Yeah.
And that's very welcome, and I appreciate that. And again, as long as we are not a top 5 league or comparable to a top 5 league in Europe, we will lose players, we will sell players. That's part of our business as well. And the dream of every American player right of now is to play over in Europe. And we are not here to destroy these dreams. We want to be successful, we want to be winning. They have to contribute as Quinn Sullivan and Jack McLean and Nathan Harrell are doing right now. They are important members of our team. But if there is an offer and they can improve their personal situation, then we need to talk and potentially do it.
Yep.
The Union currently lead the league in homegrown minutes. Those 3 players that you mentioned contribute to that in large part. Does that impact your strategy when you're looking to bring in other players?
Definitely, because we do not counteract our own development, and we definitely do not counteract our investment. That makes no sense. Apart from that, if I would need to replace Jack McLean, that would cost us probably 5 million or more. So that makes
wow.
And then you have no guarantee if the player is better. In addition to that, it's our academy, our second team development is a good thing, and the people. And that's what I realized when Paxton Aronson was on the sideline and got in the game. The people were cheering. So there's a lot of support also from our spectatorship to what we are doing here. And a lot of people are out of Philly and neighbors of the fans who are coming here. So we are creating a lot of identification by doing it as well. So it contributes in many ways to what we are doing with our club.
Was Cavan's debut on Wednesday an example of that?
Well, I don't tell you how many text messages I got from people who wanted to know in which minute Cavan comes on. But certainly there are people who come in the stadium and just want to see that. Is
that hard to wrap your head around?
Yeah, well, we need to be careful with a 14-year-old boy in what we are doing. But at the same time, the 14-year-old boy showed in a couple of actions that he can do something. So that's also a fact. But there is always highs and dips in the career of young players, and that's what we need to acknowledge. The most important thing is that we develop him further and further, and it went rapidly quick from the last couple of years when he was playing in youth. You could also already see, this is a real talent, and this season in particular, in preseason when he was with the second team and he played a game like against Tampa Bay Rowdies, who is a good professional team in USL, and he was competing there. So you could already see, that could go pretty quick, and then he got some overload injuries, which is pretty normal when you do the step from youth to senior side at that age in particular. And now he came over that, and we get him more and more ready to play in the first team. And the people appreciated it.
And this is just the beginning for him. This is the start of a bright future. But outside of homegrown deals like his, what can Union fans expect in terms of deals going on in the rest of the season?
Yeah, there will be definitely another player coming in. Yeah, but like I said before, we need to see a little bit how we can fit everything in our CSP charge. Yeah. As the summer window is not the real window where you can go out, but we are we are having rule changes in place, which will be confirmed very likely soon, also publicly, and that allows us also to do further investments. But at the same time, we need to see what we have as well, and see that we piece and fit everything together. But transfer windows are here usually to do changes.
A big part of that is scouting, and during your tenure here, you've changed the scouting department completely. You recently brought in Chris Zitterbart from Colorado Rapids as the director of scouting. What does he bring to the staff, and do you think he could make an impact on the upcoming windows?
Yeah, well, he is, or he was over in Europe the last couple of days already.
Really?
Yeah, of course. And no, Chris is an experienced scout, despite he is pretty young. But he was doing the job for Colorado Rapids. And once we appointed John Shear to the director of the academy and professional development, we of course we needed to occupy that important position. And Chris contributed in Colorado, and he will do the same with us. And he's just on his way. One
piece of the club's development that we haven't really talked about that I know went public earlier this year was we purchased a piece of Lyngby, right, in the Danish league. How does that play into our club's development, and what was kind of the thought process behind getting involved with a club like that?
Yeah, that's a really important question, because we need to clarify this publicly, probably better. Yeah, but. First and foremost, soccer is really is a global game, and the whole market piece is a global game. And if you see the impact of or MCOs, multi-club organizations, and how they do the business, then it will be even more important in future to have good relations over to Europe. And we identified Denmark as a highly interesting league where you can bring players, and where our partner also can share in our scouting, and so that's that we have synergies, vice versa. And I mean we loaned out or we got Ngabo from them to give him the experience to play over here, and he's doing a fantastic job in our second team right now. And he maybe is ready now to play in a Danish team in adult soccer after not playing for 1.5 years. Yeah, that's also something. So these joint ventures are very important. And overall, I mean, I said it, there is also, we are getting a lot of academy players out, and I'm currently even working on maybe giving them the opportunity to train over in Europe, and maybe even play in future over in Europe. And I think that the Danish league, not at a top club, can also contribute here and offer opportunities. So there are a lot of synergies. But we started the partnership, and we need to be patient and develop it.
Yep.
Is there any player that's really stood out to you that you might not have expected to really step up to the plate?
Yeah, well, we had a couple of players. I think that Andre Rick did a fantastic job for his age when he stepped in. It's absolutely fantastic for his age, and we see that there is a big talent growing, and we will give him as much match practice in the second team as we can give him. And that's Taiba Ribo was not really a surprise, but I'm totally happy for him that he could score 6 goals already in the very few matches now where he was on. And I think there's even a lot of more potential in him, as he's certainly fit, but the confidence needs to come, and the confidence with strikers usually comes when they are scoring. So, and he had a couple of more chances already. He would have to finish, but I'm happy for him as well.
So we'll close here on a more big picture question. What is the goal of the club in the short term this season, and what's the goal of the club long term going forward?
No, we are definitely a club who is consistent in development and getting the club sustainable by bringing homegrown talent up. I mean, we need to continue here, that's clear. We probably have the possibility to do even more on the pitch and in training when we have our facility finished. I mean, everybody is everybody is looking at the field house from a point of view that you can use it in winter, but I know that the field house maybe even plays a bigger role in summer when we have temperatures and humidities like now, where it is almost impossible to do an individual unit in the afternoon after training in the morning, because you would exhaust the players too much, but you can do that indoors. Yeah? That's a big advantage, and I know that from my previous stations. And overall, as a club, of course, we want to grow. Yeah? We want to be consistent in the playoffs. If possible, having a home game. We want to win titles as well. That might not be possible in every season, this is clear, and the competition for that is getting bigger and bigger. But we have been proven that we can do a title every second year, let's say it like that, and that's what we want to do as well.
Do you have a final message for the fans who have been coming to the stadium every game and continuing to support?
Well, don't lose patience. We will get back on track.
Thank you so much for taking the time. We really appreciate you coming in here.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
For more content like this, subscribe to our YouTube channel and find us on Instagram and Twitter @PhilUnion. Thanks for tuning in.